The worst you will ever feel as a trader is not when you are blowing up your account. It is not when you take a massive loss. It is not even when you break your own rules and watch yourself do it. The worst you will ever feel is when you are doing everything right and it still feels terrible. That is the stage nobody warned you about. That is the stage where more traders quit than at any other point in their development. And here is what makes it so dangerous. You will not recognize it as progress. You will interpret it as proof that you are broken. I, Mark Douglas, spent years watching traders reach this exact crossroads. Traders who had the knowledge, who had the edge, who had done the work, and they walked away. Not because the market beat them, because the doubt beat them. And the cruelest part is that the doubt arrived precisely because they were finally doing something right. Let me explain what I mean. You came into trading with a belief. Maybe you did not even know you had it, but it was there. The belief was this, that if you study hard enough, if you find the right strategy, if you learn enough about the market, eventually you will reach a point where trading feels confident, where it feels certain, where you sit down, see your setup, take the trade, and feel sure it is going to work. That belief is a lie, and it is the most expensive lie in trading. But you do not discover it is a lie on day one. You discover it much later, after you have already invested months or years into chasing that feeling of certainty. And when you finally begin to accept that certainty does not exist, when you start to internalize that every single trade is a probability, not a guarantee, something happens that nobody prepared you for. You feel worse. You feel disoriented. You feel like the ground shifted beneath you. You followed the rules, you managed your risk, you took the setup, and instead of that confident glow you expected, you feel hollow, anxious, unsure, and you think to yourself, if I were really improving, would I not feel better than this? No, you would not. And the fact that you feel this way is exactly how I know you are on the right track. Let me hold up a mirror for a moment, because I know exactly what is happening inside you if you have reached this stage. You sit down in the morning, you do your pre-market prep, you identify your levels, your setups, your risk parameters. Everything is in order. The plan is clear. And then the market opens, and a setup appears. And instead of executing with calm precision, your chest tightens. You hesitate, not because you do not see the trade, you see it perfectly, but because something in you whispers, what if this is the one that does not work? So you hesitate, or you take the trade but cut it early, or you skip it entirely and then watch it run without you, and now you feel even worse. So you chase the next one. You take a trade that is not in your plan because you need to make back what you just left on the table. And now you are back in the cycle, the same cycle you thought you had escaped. Here is what you need to understand. That hesitation, that whisper of doubt, it is not your enemy. It is your old self fighting to stay alive. Mark Douglas observed this pattern in virtually every trader who was serious about making the transition from amateur to professional. He described it not as a failure of discipline, but as a collision between two competing belief systems inside the same mind. One belief system says the market can be predicted if you just try hard enough. The other, the one you are trying to build, says that any individual outcome is unknowable, and your job is to execute a process, not to be right. Those two systems cannot coexist. And the period where they are fighting for dominance is the doubt stage. This is the stage that breaks most traders. Not because it is painful, although it is, but because they misread it. They interpret the discomfort as evidence that the new approach is not working. So they retreat. They go back to what felt familiar, overanalyzing, searching for certainty, tweaking their strategy for the 100th time, and the moment they retreat, the doubt disappears. They feel relief. And they mistake that relief for progress. It is not progress. It is surrender. Now I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, okay, I understand this intellectually. I get that doubt is part of the process, but how do I actually get through it? How do I sit with this feeling day after day without reverting to my old habits? That is exactly what I am going to give you. But first, I need to destroy one more belief. Here is the lie you have been told, that confidence comes before competence, that you need to feel confident to trade well, that the natural progression is learn, practice, gain confidence, succeed. That is backwards. Confidence does not produce correct behavior. Correct behavior produces confidence. You will not feel confident and then start executing your plan flawlessly. You will execute your plan poorly and painfully and with doubt screaming in your ear for long enough that your brain finally accepts the evidence of your own behavior. And then, only then, confidence arrives. Not as a feeling of certainty about the next trade, but as a deep, quiet knowing that you will do the right thing regardless of what happens. This is the core of what Mark Douglas spent his career teaching. Not that you need to think positively, not that you need to feel good, but that you need to act correctly in the presence of uncertainty until your beliefs realign with reality. The doubt stage is not an obstacle to that process. It is the process. It is the furnace through which every professional trader passes. Think of it like an athlete changing their swing. A golfer who has been hooking the ball for 10 years goes to a coach. The coach changes their grip, their stance, their follow-through. And on the first day with a new technique, the golfer feels terrible. Every swing feels awkward, unnatural, wrong. Their body screams at them to go back to the old way, because the old way felt comfortable even though it produced bad results. If that golfer quits after 3 days because the new technique feels wrong, they will never improve. The feeling of wrongness is not a signal that the technique is bad. It is a signal that the old habit is deeply wired, and rewiring takes time and tolerance for discomfort. You are that golfer, and trading is your swing. So let me give you the system. Let me give you the specific practices that will carry you through this stage, not by eliminating the doubt, but by making the doubt irrelevant. Let me talk about the first practice. The 20 trade commitment. This is non-negotiable. Here's the rule. You are going to take the next 20 trades that match your setup criteria. You are going to execute each one according to your rules. Same entry, same stop, same target, same position size. And you are not going to evaluate your performance until all 20 are complete. Not after trade 3, not after trade 7, not after a loss, not after a win, after 20. Let me explain why this works. Your brain evaluates on a trade-by-trade basis. It takes every individual outcome and uses it to confirm or deny your beliefs. Win, see, my system works. Loss, see, this does not work. That is how your brain has been operating, and it is the mechanism that keeps you trapped. Because on any given trade, the outcome tells you nothing about your edge. Nothing. An edge only reveals itself over a series. You would never flip a coin 5 times, get 3 tails, and conclude the coin is broken. But that is exactly what you do with your trades. The 20 trade commitment forces your brain to stop evaluating individual outcomes and start evaluating the process. It takes away the permission to judge, react, and modify after each trade. And when you take away that permission, something remarkable happens. The doubt does not disappear, but it loses its power over your behavior. You took the trade, doubt was there. You took the next trade anyway, doubt was there again, you took the next one. And somewhere around trade 8 or 12, your brain starts to accept that you are going to keep doing this regardless of how it feels. And that is the moment the old belief system starts to crack. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, what if I lose money during those 20 trades? What if I have a bad stretch? Here's my answer. You are already losing money. You are losing money right now in your current approach because you are making emotional decisions, skipping setups, revenge trading, and overriding your plan. At least with the 20 trade commitment, you are losing money if you lose while building something. You are gathering data. You are building the behavioral evidence that your brain needs to form a new belief. And here is the key. Before each of those 20 trades, you write down one sentence. Just one. I accept the risk of this trade and I accept that I do not know what will happen. That sentence is not a slogan. It is a psychological act. It is you deliberately telling your brain, I am stepping into uncertainty on purpose, and I am okay with it. After the trade, you write down 3 things. Did I follow my rules? What was I feeling when I entered? What was I feeling when I exited? That is it. No analysis of whether the trade was a winner or a loser. No recalculation of your P&L. Just did I execute and what did it feel like? This is where most traders fail themselves. Not in the execution and the observation. They do not track what is actually driving their decisions. They track their results, their win rate, their profit factor, but they never track the thing that determines all of those numbers, their emotional state in the moment of decision. Mark Douglas understood this decades ago. He knew that a trader's results were downstream of their beliefs and their emotional state, not their analysis. But back then, there was no real tool for capturing that in real time. All he could do was ask traders to be honest with themselves in U-Book and try to see their own patterns. Today, something like the Speculator's Journal exists a way to actually see your emotional patterns and recurring mistakes laid out in front of you, not just guess at them through memory and willpower. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. But whether you use a tool or a notebook, the point is the same. You must observe yourself, or you will never see what is driving you. That connects to the second practice, the pre-trade pause. This is non-negotiable. Before every single trade, you pause for 10 seconds, not 5, not a glance. 10 deliberate seconds where you ask yourself one question. Am I taking this trade because it matches my criteria or because I feel something? Let me be specific about what feel something means. It means urgency. It means fear of missing out. It means the need to make back a loss. It means boredom. It means the desire to prove something to yourself. Any of those feelings in the moment of decision is a red flag. Not because feelings are bad, but because feelings are not your edge. Your edge is your criteria. And if you cannot separate the two in the moment of action, you will always default to the feeling. The 10-second pause is not about suppressing emotion. You cannot suppress emotion, and trying to will make it worse. The pause is about creating a gap between stimulus and response. The setup appears, that is, the stimulus. Your hand reaches for the mouse. That is the response. The pause is the space between them where you get to choose whether you are acting from your plan or from your fear. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that 10 seconds is not long enough to matter, but you are wrong. 10 seconds is an eternity when your heart is pounding and the candle is moving. 10 seconds is the difference between a professional and an amateur, because the professional has trained themselves to exist in that gap. The amateur does not even know the gap exists. Here is exactly how you do it. Your setup appears on the chart, you see it, your hands go to the keyboard, you stop, you look away from the screen, you take one breath. You say out loud or in your mind, does this match my criteria, yes or no? If yes, you execute. If no, you close the chart for that instrument. You do not watch, you do not wait for a better entry. You close it and move on. That is the practice. Every trade, every day. Now let me talk about the most difficult practice. And this is the one that separates the traders who make it through the doubt stage from the ones who do not. The evening review ritual. This is non-negotiable. Every evening after the market closes, you sit down for 15 minutes. Not to analyze your trades in the way you are used to, not to replay the charts and figure out what you should have done differently. You are going to answer 5 specific questions about your psychological state that day, and you are going to answer them honestly, even when honesty is uncomfortable. Question 1. Did I follow my rules on every trade today? Yes or no? Not mostly, not on the ones that mattered. Every trade, yes or no? Question 2. Was there a moment today where I felt the urge to deviate from my plan? If yes, what triggered it? Question 3. Did I take any trade today that was not in my plan? If yes, why? Question 4. What was my dominant emotional state today? Calm, anxious, frustrated, bored, excited, numb, just name it. Question 5. If I traded exactly like this every day for the next year, would I be profitable? That 5th question is the one that matters most, because it forces you to evaluate your process, not your results. You might have had a losing day, you might have lost money on 3 out of 4 trades, but if you followed your rules on every one of them, and you would be profitable trading like that every day for a year, then you had a perfect day. The loss is irrelevant. The behavior is everything. And here is what most traders never do. They never go back and read their answers from the previous weeks. They write their journal and never look at it again. But the patterns are in the repetition. You will start to see that every time you deviate, the trigger is the same. A loss followed by urgency, or a win followed by overconfidence, or boredom in a slow market. These patterns are invisible in the moment, but obvious in the record. This is exactly what Mark Douglas meant when he talked about beliefs driving behavior beneath the level of conscious awareness. You cannot see your own patterns while you are inside them. You need a mirror, and that mirror is the daily record of your emotional state. Reviewed weekly, reviewed monthly, until the pattern becomes so obvious that you can catch it before it catches you. And this is where I come back to something I said earlier, the gap between knowing your patterns and actually seeing them in real time. Most traders think they know themselves. They do not. They know the version of themselves they see after the fact, when the emotion has passed and rationality has returned. But the version of you that makes the decision in the heat of the moment, that is the one you need to observe. That is the one whose beliefs are running the show. The Speculator's Journal was built for exactly this kind of self-observation, to give you the mirror that raw willpower alone cannot provide. Link is in the description. But the principle stands regardless of the tool. If you are not tracking your emotional state with the same rigor that you track your P&L, you are flying blind. Now, let me talk about one more practice, because it ties everything together. The probability reminder. This is non-negotiable. Every morning before the market opens, you read one sentence, the same sentence, every single day. Here it is. I do not know what will happen on the next trade. I do not need to know. My edge plays out over a series, not a single event. You read it, you sit with it, you let it sink in. Not as words, as truth. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that is too simple. That cannot possibly make a difference. But here is what you do not understand yet. The reason you feel doubt is because part of you still believes you should be able to predict what happens next. That belief has not been fully replaced. It is still there, lurking, whispering. And every morning when you read that sentence, you are not learning something new. You are reinforcing the belief that replaces the old one. You are reminding your brain that uncertainty is not a threat. It is the operating environment. Professionals do not eliminate uncertainty. They accept it so completely that it no longer produces emotional interference. Think about a casino owner. The casino owner knows that on any given hand of blackjack, the player might win. Does the casino owner feel doubt about that hand? Does the casino owner panic and change the rules after 3-player wins in a row? No, because the casino owner understands the edge. Not hopes, not believes, understands. And that understanding was not built in a day. It was built by watching 10,000 hands, 100,000 hands, and seeing the edge express itself over time. You are building that same understanding. And the doubt you feel right now is the space between intellectually knowing the edge and emotionally trusting it. The morning reminder is not a trick, it is a brick. 1 brick per day, and over weeks and months, those bricks become a foundation that doubt cannot shake. So let me bring this together. Let me tell you exactly what your life looks like if you commit to these practices. You are going to commit to 4 things, starting tomorrow. 1, the 20-trade commitment. Execute 20 trades by your rules before you evaluate anything. Accept the risk. Track your emotional state on every single one. 2, the pre-trade pause. 10 seconds before every entry. 1 question, am I acting from my plan or from a feeling? 3, the evening review. 15 minutes, 5 questions, honest answers, weekly review of patterns. 4, the morning probability reminder. 1 sentence every day. Before the market opens, that is it. 4 practices. None of them are complicated. None of them require a new indicator, a new strategy, or a new market to trade. They require something much harder than any of that. They require you to sit with doubt and act correctly anyway. And here is what happens if you do this for 6 months. The doubt does not vanish. It thins. It becomes background noise rather than a siren. You sit down one morning and realize that you executed your plan yesterday without even noticing, without the internal battle, without the white-knuckled discipline. It just happened. And that is the moment you will realize what confidence actually is. It is not a feeling you arrive at. It is a residue left behind by hundreds of correct actions. Remember what I told you at the beginning. The worst you will ever feel is when you are doing everything right and it still feels wrong. That is where you are. And most traders do not survive it, not because they lack skill, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack the patience to let the doubt run its course. Mark Douglas spent his career trying to get traders to understand one thing, that the obstacle between where you are and where you want to be is not the market, it is you. Specifically, it is the part of you that demands certainty in an environment that will never provide it. The doubt stage is where that part of you begins to die. And if you let it die, if you do not rescue it, do not feed it, do not retreat to comfort, when it screams, what emerges on the other side is something you have never experienced before. Not excitement, not the thrill of a big win, something quieter, something more powerful. The calm certainty that no matter what the market does tomorrow, you will do the right thing. That is mastery. And it was always on the other side of the doubt you were trying to escape. Stop trying to escape it. Walk through it.